Thank you for tuning in to the Edalex podcast. We are a software development company that connects learning, skills, and evidence. Each episode features thought-provoking conversations with global technology leaders and educators, where we discuss how we deliver better learning outcomes for 21st century learners.
Right, so today we are joined, which I've been very, very excited about this one. We are partnering today, Canvas, Edalex, and Hunter School of Performing Arts. And today we are going to be talking around Beyond the Grades. I'm Gems. I'm the Regional Director for K-12 here at Instructure. We obviously are the makers of Canvas Learning Management System. Excitedly, I am joined today by Darren Ponman, who is the Deputy Principal of the Department of Education's Hunter School of Performing Arts. Hello, Darren.
Good morning, Margo. Good morning, Gems. I'm proud to be joining you here today from the lands of the Awabakal and Warramai people, and like to acknowledge that and pay my respects to any elders past and present, and certainly any First Nations people joining us here today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Darren. And we are also joined by Margo Griffith. So Margo is the Principal Skills Consultant at Edalex. Margo.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here today. Please excuse my voice. Hopefully it will last throughout the webinar today. I have some terrible lurgy. I am also, as I mentioned before, coming to you from Bundalang country, up in behind the beautiful Byron Bay. So I'm very lucky to live and work up there. So yeah, really looking forward to digging into the amazing work at Hunter School today with you all. All right, thanks, Jen.
I am coming to you from Kondamuka country here in the Redlands in Queensland. Something that I'm very excited about, though, is that we actually have the voice of the students on today's call, which I think is super duper amazing. So we are joined today by Zali Edwards. She is in Year 7. Welcome, Zali.
Good morning.
And we also have Clara Zapula. Clara is in Year 8. Hello, Clara.
Good morning.
And we have Sophia Noranya. I think I pronounced that correctly. Sophia is in Year 9. Welcome, Sophia.
Hi.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, firstly, what I want to talk about is what is going to be covered in today's webinar. So you will discover a very proven use case to explore the learner dashboard, empower student ownership of their learning journey, as well as enhanced reporting and insights, and witness true partnership in action. So, Darren, I'd like to throw to you to understand the why, because really we are here today because this was your brainchild. You were using Canvas, doing some phenomenal things, and you were like, I think we can do more. Are you able to talk to us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I can. So it was quite a few years ago now. Yep, we've been using Canvas here since 2016, so quite a while. We were in a fairly evolved state when we started looking into the learner dashboard. And we were, I guess, all of it has been motivated pedagogically more so than technologically is probably an important point to start with. Wanting to instill a growth mindset was probably the first and foremost. We had a situation, as most schools do, where students were, getting a grade and settling for the grade and not necessarily taking too much notice of the feedback or what happens after that grade. It was the grade was done. It was an A, a B, a C, a D, whatever it might have been. And so we've done a lot of research into particularly Thomas Guskey, Benjamin Bloom. None of this is new. Benjamin Bloom, I think, in 1968 floated the whole idea of the mastery side of things. Thomas Guskey's taken it further recently and talks about particularly that growth mindset and how important it is that we perceive learning as a journey and not all about these consistent benchmark destinations. And so we did a lot of work before we even sort of started looking to set up a technical infrastructure that could support it. We knew where we were headed, but from the staff point of view, there was probably 6 to 12 months of time spent looking at, well, what do we value as a school and as a community? And obviously, first and foremost, as a Department of Education school in New South Wales, the syllabus drives our curriculum. predominantly. So we looked at the outcomes that we were working towards in each syllabus. And then as a collective, staff got together and developed performance descriptors for each of those outcomes. And we set them up as outcomes in Canvas speak, allowing us to really quickly build rubrics and provide great data points for staff as well as students. Further, and what I think is probably the most powerful part of it is that then we looked at, well, you know, we've also got an opportunity here to celebrate some of the more important aspects of schooling, and that's the soft skills, the cross-curriculum, communication, critical thinking, creativity, those things. And so we then set about teams of staff working on what do the performance descriptors look like for that? What does it look like at an emerging level, at a developing level? So set those outcomes up, putting us in a position where we could pretty efficiently, due to the speed grader and outcome system in Canvas, generate results and generate conversation with students. But there wasn't necessarily an efficient way of generating badges and generating a dashboard that students could pretty quickly go to and track their learning. And that was a big part of it. We wanted them to take ownership of their learning and say, I'm developing and I've got a developing badge. We did a bit of research into where we could go, how we could, who we could partner with to bring that facility into Canvas. And very fortunately, I had a conversation with Margo at Edalex, who was just as excited about the prospect as I was. And that was maybe at least 3 years ago, I think now, Margo, we've been working together, yeah. And they've been incredible. You know, we got together, we met, we did a prototype in a PowerPoint originally, that's still kicking around somewhere. I've got that, I was looking at that the other day, of how we wanted the whole thing to work. And the end goal was certainly we wanted maximum efficiency for staff, because, you know, it doesn't matter how good the system is. If it's a lot of time for staff to give that feedback, then they're just not going to get it. The students are not going to get it as regularly. We wanted it to be efficient for students, so it needed to be embedded in Canvas. Everything we do here is in Canvas from a learning management point of view. We're very, I guess, strict is one way to put that, and that's all about user experience. As we know, it's much easier for students if they're not having to go to Google Classroom for that one and Teams for this one. So we go, no, Canvas is our learning management system, and certainly we integrate lots of other things in that. One of the benefits of Canvas is that we can. And so Edalex we've been able to embed the learner dashboard into Canvas. So it seemed from a student point of view, it's a seamless transition to go in and have a look at how they're tracking. It also means that parents are authenticated into that same environment, so parents and students, and that was a big part of it, wanting a conversation, opening up conversation points for parents and students to look at where they currently are. And when I say currently, 24/7, so that, you know, the turnaround, as soon as something is marked in SpeedGrader, the turnaround for that to be generated for students and parents is daily. So, you know, no more are we waiting on semester one reports for parents and students to be on the same page with where they're at. Every day students can go in and have a look at where they're currently tracking, not just in a grade in a subject, at a much more granular level than that for every outcome, for every subject. That's constantly being updated. So that conversation, we're trying to develop a culture here where the conversation is not around, you know, at semester one, what did you get? I got a B and that's it, let's move on. It's how's science going today? And I noticed you're sitting at developing in that outcome. Have you given some thought to how you might be able to get to competent? And, you know, those sort of conversations are what we're trying to facilitate, and they are certainly starting to happen. So I guess in a couple of words, growth mindset was predominantly what we were trying to develop, giving the students the opportunity to get real valid credentials they could take with them after school, and ensuring that they had easy access to that, and doing that in an efficient way that was driven by pedagogy more so than technology. The technology was the tool to get us to where we wanted to be.
Wow. What have I got to say about that? Like, my brain is exploding, and I really, really wanted to spotlight, you know, the fact that you're also including the soft skills, not just looking at the student academically, but also that growth mindset and where that is able to take the students in their learning journey. I love that you called out the integration, right? Because integration is so important, and sort of being strict with Canvas being sort of your, I guess, source of truth, and all of the teachers, even the parents, being able to access that. It is absolutely phenomenal what you have achieved there, Darren and Margo. High five to you both. I'm really excited to find out and to hear from the girls as to, you know, how that it has supported them in their journey. But Margo, if you could just talk to us a little bit about sort of how it works and what the mechanics are from a tech perspective. I know that's a really big question, so we won't have time to dive into it. There will be a follow-up later as well. But sort of what does that look like, and sort of how did you work with Darren on formulating this as a part of your business, and obviously working with Canvas to integrate that? So if you could just talk us through that, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, 100%. I might get the slide deck queens to move the slide deck forward to where the videos are going to start. So it, as Darren said, first and foremost, he came to us with an idea. He had the model working in HSPA. What he wanted to do was to automate that so that the onus and the bulk of the administrative burden did not fall onto the teachers, because that would have been, you know, that was something that was not going to be considered. He also was very strong that the learning community, the parents, the carers, the students and the teachers all had 24/7 access visually to where they were up to. At Edalex, we are self-confessed skills data nerds. That's what we do. We do not want you to know that we are in the background doing all the things that we are doing, because it has to be a seamless experience for you, the learners, and I hope that it really is. Looking forward to hearing from you in a bit, girls. And so essentially what Darren tasked us with is take all of the data from Canvas in the Mastery Gradebook and run it through the rules that HSPA have set up for each of the outcomes around curriculum, around cross-curriculum and co-curriculum. And then we want you to take that data and push it back into Canvas, into a dashboard, so that first and foremost, learners and carers and teachers are not going outside to any other external system, because again, in terms of a user experience, that is also not on. You're not going to, you know, multiple systems. So that was a very daunting task. Second task was, by the way, we have a mastery level model. That means that we're going through a 5-point progression of learning that we would also like you to recognize. So there are lots of deep breaths at Canvas, at Edalex, as we figured out what that should look like. One of the really tricky things was that last thing I said around progression, recognizing progression of learning towards a point. From a digital recognition perspective, that was a really tricky thing we had to overcome. So I'm going to talk to a video now, just talk you through what that kind of looks like. Then I'm going to dig into a couple of really quick slides. It won't be death by PowerPoint, because I know that you, like me, want to hear from the girls here. So if we could start the video, and I'll try and narrate it as best I can. This is what it looks like. So the learner dashboard sits into the navigation panel of your Canvas. So again, seamless. What you can see here is that we 24/7 harvest the data and represent it through these curriculum, through these graphs, these spider graphs is what we call it. We're also bringing in the attendance data, so that's all on one screen. As you know, in New South Wales, learning is arranged by stages. So we have stage 4 here, and you can see up there that there is also the cross-curriculum and the co-curriculum. What we are doing with regards to, if you could just stop the video for a moment, would be helpful. I just want to touch on where it flashed up backpack. At the moment, what we are doing is utilizing digital badges as a way to cryptographically seal the information so that you know that it's verified and valid. And also so that when the learners go at the end, they can take that with them. Now, at the moment, that sits in the backpack. Eventually, we may look at things like wallets, digital education wallets, or skills passports. That's all in the future. But at the moment, it's kind of sitting in a backpack that the learners can take when they leave school, or if they need to look at things outside of school.
And just to ask a question on that, Margo, that would
course.
be like our credentials backpack, right? So you will credentialate with the credentials backpack, the credentials product.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, while it says Credentialate backpack, that is in fact in the background being transitioned. So
yes, yeah, fantastic.
Continue on the video for me. Okay, where have we got to? I've disrupted my own flow. So that
is okay.
And so we go into, here we're just going into the individual subjects. So you can see here, this is English stage 4. You'll notice some of the badges are coloured in and some of them are not. That means that the ones that are not coloured in have yet to be assessed. And so that's a really important point. It's not that you haven't achieved anything, it's probably that you haven't actually been assessed for anything as yet. And you can also see here that as well as having the big spider graph, looking at the overall cohort and the overall subjects, we also have it subject by subject, and we also have it cross curriculum by per curriculum. So every piece of data is broken down and is visualized for the learning community, the parents, carers, learners and teachers. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the background. I'll just let this video play out because it's really doing a beautiful job of flipping all of the badges back and forth. The way that we dealt with, yeah, it's going to do it right here. The way that we dealt with more information is we built, there's links in the back of each badge back into the HSPA model. So that at any point you can go and see how you can level up, and that's built into the badge. It's also on the website. So there's, you know, there's every opportunity for learners to be able to know what they need to do next. How can they level up? The other thing that we did is built into the back end, the metadata of those badges, is this notion of a provisional status.
Okay.
We won't get into the technicalities of that because I just don't want to bore you all with that, but just know that's a very specific thing that we did for HSPA, and a really, really, really important aspect of being able to digitally recognize learning as it goes.
Wow. It looks exceptionally comprehensive. And I think that the work in the background obviously is quite huge.
Yeah, and we, again, it's great that no one knows that, right? That's the point. It's the point that it takes an ecosystem, I think, these days of systems to be able to realize a really seamless learner experience, and the fact that Edalex and Canvas can work together so seamlessly and exchange that data and no one knows it, is a testament, I think, to the way that we have both developed our platforms and our commitment to that learning ecosystem.
I think you called it out really nicely as well, is that it does need to be seamless. You know, technology just should be a tool that supports us. We shouldn't have to know exactly what we're using. And looking at the way that obviously the backpack just displays there, the learner dashboard just displays there in the global navigation bar, it is quite seamless, right? It's very clean, very clear to see exactly what you're looking at. And I love that. We don't want to overburden students. We don't want to overburden teachers. And obviously the ability to be able to remove the additional teacher burden and just include that within Canvas as they're already marking anyway, but also being able to surface this data for the students. Because being a parent, I don't know where my son is up to until the end of term, right? Until the end of semester even, right? And I think that if I had have had this tool when I was back at high school, holy wow, my relationship with education would have been very different. So thank you so much, Margo, for sharing that information. I think quick recap of what we've talked about so far is we've obviously spoken to Darren about the why, right? The vision, and the goal, which obviously has been achieved and is working exceptionally well. Thank you to Margo and Edalex, right? So covering off what you've shown us about how it works and what that looks like without getting too technical, because we don't need to hear that right now. It's too early. I've only had one coffee. But what we are here to hear about is obviously the students and what that looks like from a student perspective and how they're utilizing it. So girls, over to you. I have some questions for you. Are you ready? All right. Zali, I am going to start with you. So when you first saw the learner dashboard, what was your initial reaction and what did your carers or parents think about it? And how different is it from just seeing a grade in the grade book? If you could talk to me about that. I know I asked you 3 questions in that, but if you could encapsulate all of that all in one, that would be amazing. No pressure.
When I first saw the learner dashboard, I was a bit like shocked because I was used to more different types of learning from my old school, but I feel like that was more efficient. When I showed my parents, they thought it was like a good way to help track your learning.
Awesome. Thank you. And just to confirm, you are in year 7, so
Yes.
5 to you for answering such an in-depth question. Thank you. And then how different was it from just, obviously seeing the grade book, but seeing where you were mastering that? Do you feel like that changes the way that your brain views your progress?
Yeah, it really changes the way you can see the progress that you've made because when like at the end of the term, the end of the semester, you see like your A, B, C, whatever you get. But when you can check every day what grade you get on the learner dashboard, you can really begin to understand how you can advance like mastery from where you're at.
Love that. Thank you so much. Now, Clara, over to you. So Clara, just to confirm, you're in year 8, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Can you describe a specific time of when you were seeing your provisional evidence, is what it's called at your school, on the dashboard, and it helped you understand a concept or be more motivated to improve, right? So seeing that you're here, but you know that you want to get up here. Can you talk to me a little bit about sort of how the dashboard is helping support that?
I found it really good in a lot of the tech classes that we only get to, the tech classes that we do in year 7 and 8, because I can set goals for badges I want to get before I am that subject. So like in food tech, there's specific badges you can only get in the 7 and 8 food tech class. And that means that I'm working my hardest and setting goals to achieve those badges before the end of that subject.
Fantastic. Now, quick question. Are you super duper competitive?
Yes.
Awesome. I would be totally the same. I even race people when I'm trying to put my doona cover on my bed. So that's I am. Sophia, welcome. You are in year 9 at the Hunter School of Performing Arts. How does the dashboard change your approach to schoolwork, or how do you talk about your learning with your parents?
It changes my approach in terms of seeing learning as a process instead of permanent marks. It meant that I never get to call myself a straight A student because we don't have A's. It also means I can't fail classes as such because I will never get an F. I will get an emerging, and I will know that I'm emerging and developing a skill essentially instead of just getting marks, just going, oh, the teacher hates me, I didn't get a good mark in this. It's knowing learning is a process, it's encouraging a growth mindset, and it's really good.
Holy wow. That is amazing. I just got goosebumps. Literally, you basically just spoke about my whole schooling. So yeah, I love that you are considering that growth mindset, and also essentially what you're saying is you are not defined by your grade. That is so important. I love that. See, Darren, look at how amazing and the work that you and Margo are doing. Like, I love this. Now, Sophia, one more question. We often hear about the importance of soft skills like collaboration and critical thinking. And obviously, how does that dashboard help you see or understand your growth in these areas?
The cross-curriculum badges are my favorite because they're the skills I can see being most relevant to life. So I know I'm developing collaboration when I'm going through group projects that can get difficult at times, and no one likes group projects, but knowing that I'm developing collaboration skills makes it better. Seeing those collaboration skills get developed and seeing that badge makes it better. Seeing my development of like creativity is not something that's developed in most schools. It's not something that's desirable in most schools. Most schools, it's do what you're told, do this, do that. Whereas HSPA in general likes creativity, desires creative students, and obviously has them. And seeing proof of that creativity is very rewarding. Other things like critical thinking and reflection are really cool because I never really think about developing critical thinking. It's like, yes, I think, yes, I consider myself a smart person, but what the hell is critical thinking? So I actually have to look at what that is and how to develop it. I love the cross-curriculum badges.
Yeah, I love the cross-curriculum badges. Like, how do I enroll in your school? Also, I think being a neurodivergent, I think that the way that your school is set up would obviously support a lot of those students. And to your point around the creativity, you know, the way that curriculum is mostly set up is, to your point, about going in and doing what you're told rather than developing these more broad skills. So, whoa. Clara, how do the performance descriptors in the rubrics help you measure your progress or see what, or help you see what's coming up in your classes? So how does that help you improve?
I really enjoy seeing all the different badges, especially in, I'm here at the School for Drama, so seeing the badges and the different things that I'll be able to achieve in semester 1 and 2 of year 8. I find them important to look at so that I can know what I need to do for different assessments and practicals, like different performances I do. And I really like seeing where the syllabus will be going for the year.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you. And then, Sophia, the digital credentials that you earn, right, are yours to keep for life. What does that mean to you, right? How do you see yourself using them once you have left Hunter School of Performing Arts?
Well, for starters, it meant that I got a lot of emails at the start of this year saying that all the badges were going into my learning vault. So I was looking at each one and going, oh, I got this and this skill. Oh, I got developing in this skill, mastering in this skill, advanced in commitment to learning and stuff. Most of my year thought those emails were spam. I'm very confused.
I'll fix that for you. I'm so sorry. We'll fix it.
They didn't really understand what those emails were, which is totally fair because no one explained it to them. I had it explained to me, so I understood that those were going in a vault that I then get to put on my resume. I will probably put all the cross-curriculum badges on my resume because collaboration's used in most workplaces. Communication is definitely a skill in most workplaces. So being able to know that I'm developing those skills will be useful, and knowing that I can put them straight onto LinkedIn and my resume is quite useful.
It is very, very useful because life is one group project, let me tell you. So definitely around that communication skill as well. And by the sounds of it, it's sort of looking at, you know, not only your creativity and collaboration, but also EQ, right? And sort of what that looks like and where that feeds into. Quick question, and I'm going to throw a curly one for you. What do you want to be when you grow up?
A lot of things.
Good. Yes. I love
the
that.
list ranges from like Prime Minister to being a barista. So me and my friend the other day set out a document of like dream jobs, and I think we both had like 8 on each.
Oh my gosh, keep going. Keep going. Absolutely. Do you know you could be a prime minister and have a coffee cart and drive around and make coffee and then also speak to people whilst you're doing it, right? Just throwing that out there.
100%. I will vote for you. 100%.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. We are 100%. I have one last question for Zali. So having all of this evidence and credentials and everything all in one place within your canvas, right? That would obviously gives you a sense of ownership, right? Because you know what you're working towards and you are responsible for these things. I think, what does that feel like, and how does that make you feel more control of your learning journey, right? Because you are in year 7, so you know your high school is just starting out, but how do you think that that changes the way that you're looking at your time at Hunter School of Performing Arts, being that you are just in year 7?
Well, when you have a learner dashboard showing like your badges, does make you feel more of a sense of control over what you can do in your journey through like school. Because like, as I said earlier, when you get just like a letter as your grade, you don't really feel like you can change it.
Okay.
But when you get the badges, you can see your progress like go along and you feel more empowered to make a change with it.
Yes. So it's kind of motivating, right? You see that you're sitting here, but you know that you have the ability to change that based on having a discussion with your teacher or doing, you know, some extra study or applying yourself more. I think that that is so wonderful, right? Because I just used to try and argue my way out of my grades unsuccessfully.
James, it's one of the reasons we had that those not yet assessed the grey badges that you saw on the dashboard were there very much by design, so that for that reason, so you know, prior to things like the dashboard and without things like the dashboard, students are very much at the whim of the teacher and the syllabus, the scope and sequence, in terms of they don't necessarily know what's coming up. They're just kind of along for this ride that they don't have any control over. Having the not yet assessed badges means that they can see all of the outcomes that are going to be covered, and that it adds to that gamification approach in terms of being able to say, okay, those are the badges that for this subject over the next 2 years, because it's in stages, over year 7 and 8, I can level up in any one of those subjects.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for adding that, Darren. I have a question for all of you. So we'll start with you, Zali. So the question is, and then we'll move along to Clara and Sophia. So for other students that don't have this technology within their school, right? Think about that, those poor students that don't have access to what you have within the learner dashboard. What would you tell them is the biggest benefit of this tool that you are so lucky to have?
Well, I'll probably tell them the biggest benefit is how comfortable you feel with the grade you're currently getting. Because if you have like a B or something, you might feel a bit like upset that you don't have an A, but it makes you feel a lot more comfortable, like if you have to like share your grade with someone, saying you have mastering instead of like a B. So
that is fantastic. Thank you. Clara?
I think like adding on to what Zali said, you know, it can really help you see, like, instead of being like, I got a B, I'm mastering in this subject, oh, I got an F in this subject, I'm emerging. It makes you think about your learning journey as more of a process than like a singular grade.
Love that so much. And Sophia?
Yeah, definitely increases the idea that learning is a process, and learning always in life is a process. It's never a permanent grade. Whether you're learning to tie your shoes, ride a bike, or learn trigonometry, learning is always a process, and it encourages that idea that skills are being developed instead of grades being given.
Yeah.
I didn't hear first from the Prime Minister.
Gems, could I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Now that we've got you here, it just occurred to me, again, moving through from Zali, what would be the one thing you might change? And this is prompted by something that I heard you say, Sophia, around the attendance badges. So what would be one thing that you would change if you could around the learner dashboard?
I don't think I'd actually have anything I'd like to change, because in my opinion, it's really efficient and easy to like see your grade currently. So yeah. I would like if there were more badges for certain for like our main subjects, because I think there's around 8 for each one. And if there were like more, that could be good, especially to see more different areas.
Good to know.
As I've already mentioned to the panelists, I want to add attendance badges so that when you're going for jobs, when you haven't graduated high school, all they want to know is that you show up and that you're committed. We have commitment to learning badges. We don't have attendance badges.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you. And sorry for butting in, Gems.
No, absolutely. We want this to be conversational. Now, speaking of conversational, there is a question that has just come through. There's two, actually. One, I believe that this one is targeted at the girls, and then the next is for Margo and Darren. Girls, I think this is for all of you. Do you ever feel anxious that your parents can see any of your badges when you don't get the level you would have wanted?
Just for me, my personal experience, my parents are big on like trying your hardest, and they care more about how hard I've tried rather than the grade I get. So I wouldn't be too anxious just with my parents, because I think they wouldn't judge me on the grade per se I got or the level in the badge that I got. I think they would ask me, did you try your hardest? And I would say yes.
You have great parents. High five them for me. Sally?
I don't usually feel anxious when I have to show my parents my badges, because with the way it's worded at your level, it doesn't say you're failing at all. It shows like your current understanding of the topic that it's on. So you don't feel like ashamed that you're failing a subject. You just know that you're emerging into the level of like, understanding.
Awesome. Thank you. And Sophia?
When and if my parents see those badges, so my parents have seen the emerging developing badges I've had in year 7. We all had to look at them when we didn't get reports first semester in year 7. So we all jumped on and looked at that. In terms of anxiety around it, 1, there's my expectations, and 2, there's my parents. And they're both very high, but it's also knowing, I know I'm developing skills, they know I'm developing skills. I can actually look at what assignments those badges were based on. So part of that seamlessness means that I can go back and go, well, I didn't do very well in that English assessment because I didn't put much time into it, or I missed that badge because we didn't actually do that. So I guess there's less of a level of anxiety than traditional grades, as Sally mentioned.
Yeah.
Can I add on to that? From the school's point of view, we've done quite a bit of work that the girls might not even know about. It's a real culture shift, what we're talking about. And so there's been quite a bit of work done in terms of supporting the parents to understand what this looks like, because, you know, in our parents' time at school, and still in a lot of schools, it is A, B, C, D, E, static, done, next, is the process. And so it has taken quite a bit of communication and ongoing communication. So we still do reports. At this point, we do half-yearly and yearly reports, and which is just, for the most part, data aggregated from the dashboard, and it pretty much says at the top of that report, this will be outdated within a week. If you want to go and have a look at the dashboard, you can see where they're at. But it also has a disclaimer around the idea behind, you know, if you see a developing on that report or a D, it's not D, it's developing. It's more likely reflective of the point in time that they're at in that learning journey. It's not a D as in that's where you sit, it's a D as in it's developing. Every student just about starts on emerging. That's not entirely true. You would have seen the graph that we had there earlier in terms of how the mastery system works. There is pre-testing at the start of a lot of the outcomes, the units, and then well, there's a lot to unpack here, so I won't keep going. But ultimately, that communication with the community has been really important, and it's an ongoing process for us, is making sure that, because we've got new students already coming in this year, so that's a new lot of parents that we have to communicate with, and that's an ongoing. So pretty regularly, at least once a term, once a semester, there's emails. I'm sending emails out that's attached to reports, just explaining this is how the mastery system works, to try and alleviate some of that for families.
Yeah, I love that you do include, I know that in previous conversations, you even include parents in how to use Canvas, what is Canvas, right? And I love that. We do have a few questions online, which is fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for asking some questions. So Darren and Margo, I believe that this one is falling to you. So with the Learner Dashboard providing real-time progress data, badge pathways, cross co-curricular indicators, how does this visibility and structure help teachers/educators tailor instruction to meet the needs of students with varying ability levels in the same classroom? Big question.
Yeah, that's a great. Do you want me to start with that one, Margo?
Yeah, you start with that one because, frankly, as we've said all along, the technology is simply an enabler. And so it really, the focus is back on the pedagogy. So to you, Darren.
So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our pedagogical drive, I suppose, is based on Gusky's work. And I don't know if we've got the PowerPoint there available to pull up quickly, but there's a slide there. It's got purple bars at the top and the bottom, and it's an infographic explaining the mastery learning system. If we can get that up, that'll make it a lot. It'll tell 1,000 words that I won't have to. In a nutshell, it greatly helps because the learning is designed that's the one, thank you. So you can see that we do pre-assessment, group-based instruction. This is the generic kind of concept that we follow from a learning point of view. There's a lot more formative than summative assessment. And so that formative assessment then generally generates badges. And I think if you go to the next slide, we should see a mastery grade book. Well, that's the speed grader. So that one there, and then even one slide further. So this is the mastery grade book. There we go. In Canvas, because everything's being marked against outcomes, so this is the teacher's view. The girls probably haven't seen this too much before. What that means is that because that ongoing formative assessment, and that takes a wide variety of, if it's a dance class, then there's nothing actually submitted on Canvas, but there might be a rubric associated with it, and the outcomes are ticked on the rubric by the teacher. From there, that's all that the teacher has to do, and we were really clear about that from the start, is that we don't want this to be burdensome, because then it won't be enacted. So the teacher just marks a rubric at its most basic. All of the data flows through to here in the Canvas environment, which is amazing, and then out to the Edalex environment, the badging, also amazing and back. This screen here probably sums up the answer to the question, in that once we've got all that data, and if we go back a screen just for a moment, just to this previous slide, you'll see the entire data for a class. If we go back just one.
We're having the demo gods don't want to play kindly with us right now. So
that's the one, yeah. So that shows you that's a whole class kind of thing early in the stage, obviously, because there's lots of emerging and developing there. On the right hand side there, for those that haven't used the Learning Mastery Gradebook in Canvas, it's an incredibly powerful tool when it's used well and when the data is collected properly. And the trick that I think a lot of people miss in this is that there's a lot of planning on the staff end in terms of the implementation. The tool is there to do the job for you, but if the implementation pedagogically is not sound, then none of this is really going to make much sense. You're not going to have the consistency required to make use of those judgments. But if we go forward a slide, you'll see on the right hand side only the emerging icon is selected, the little red one there. So we can see outcomes that straight away the whole cohort needs more work with. If we look horizontally, we can see there's a couple of students that might need a little bit more support to get to the next level. And that's where, if we go forward again, back to wherever that infograph was, at that point in time, I think the infograph was back 2 slides, possibly, either way. So, but yeah, that one. At that point, we're looking at down the bottom there, emerging and developing. We go into corrective instruction, and a lot of that is pre-prepared stuff. So when we develop our curriculum, we're developing the corrective and the enrichment activities in advance. And that's an ongoing process. We're certainly by no means saying we have corrective and enrichment strategies for every single thing that we do in the school. But day by day, more and more, and that's an imperative that is built into and embedded in the mindset of our staff when they're developing curriculum. is that we're developing an original delivery method, and then we're developing, or at least being considerate of what corrective instruction we might need to give for students that need more support. And we're also, and more so, developing enrichment activities, and Canvas is great for that. It allows us to have projects set up in the Canvas learning environment, which is a whole other conversation in terms of looking at our Canvas environment and how effective that is through the structures that we put in place. You can see there that we're then able to cluster in classes and differentiate for the students that need more enrichment or provide corrective for those that need corrective, and that's based on real-time data.
Yeah.
I think that answers the question.
It does. It was very comprehensive. There are a lot of questions coming through. So one of the other questions is, there's some work going on with digital portfolios in Canvas. Have you thought about how these might be incorporated into your fantastic program? Is a question for you, Darren.
In short, yes, have thought about it, but we're still kind of, I would say we're 3 years into this now and kind of getting to the point where we call this a consolidation year, in that we're just kind of, ironing out creases and all of that kind of stuff, making sure that the kids don't get emails when their badges are baked and en masse. And so that's probably it will be next year before we start looking at anything else.
Fantastic.
Just a quick one from a technical perspective on that one.
Mm-hmm.
We can grab artifacts as well and attach them to those badges as proof points. So yeah, that can work seamlessly should you ever want to involve that. Just a FYI.
Just an FYI, very important FYI, but thank you so much. For the students, would you like to see teachers get involved in a similar system? So I think, can we just have just a bit more context on what you mean by that? Because, yeah, just to unpack that one a little bit more. Moving along whilst we're getting some more information on that one. One more question. So when
I can probably answer that one, Gems. The students would not be able to answer. I can give them some more context to be able to answer. We kind of do in New South Wales, and in Australia, we have the Australian Teaching Standards, which are a series of there are a series of elements associated with that from beginning through to proficient, and then we have in New South Wales the HALT system, the highly accomplished and lead teaching, so which all do have performance descriptors associated with them. So I wouldn't expect the students to know that, but so maybe the question is, how does it make you feel that teachers are also using a similar system?
Yeah.
It's important for both teachers and students, to have that be assessed. It's important for teachers to have regular learning things, because we're not the only ones learning. Teachers are learning as well. They're learning how to teach in this new generation of technology and stuff. And I think it's important for everyone to, have feedback on what they're doing, even if you're 14 years old like me, or 30 years old like a teacher.
Yeah, 30 is pretty old, yeah.
No. I just give an age.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. I used to think of 30 as very old as well. Wouldn't it be cool if you could award badges though, based on the coolest teacher, or teacher knows the most Taylor Swift songs? I think that you should develop those badges internally. Darren, you should open it up to the girls. Also, just quickly, when shifting from traditional grading to mastery-based learning, was there any initial resistance from either staff, students, parents? And if there was, how did you overcome it? Because I think that's a really great question, because it is a bit of a change as to what you do within normal schools. So did you come across that, Darren?
Yeah, definitely. Not en masse. Teachers, not so much. Especially the only concern from teachers was in terms of workload, and not from we don't want to do the work, more so from the point of view of sorry, getting a weird message, more so from the point of view of making sure that it wasn't going to interrupt the pedagogy, because it absolutely can. If it's too much extra work, then it interrupts, and so that's a really valid point. And why we were so steadfast about ensuring the efficiency of it. And once they understood that there's really nothing for them to do other than what they were already doing. It was already an expectation that we had rubrics, and that the kids were getting feedback on that front. And so when they worked out, well, you're not actually doing anything more than that, just marking the rubric, everything else is automated and taken care of. Then the concerns not just went away, but our staff are big proponents of the system and how it works. Parents only, not so much, not that they've been vocal about it, it's only been glowing feedback in terms of that transparency and ability to open up more meaningful conversations rather than just what did you do today, or what, you can be really specific on that front. Students, I've heard, particularly earlier on, I have had the comment of just give me a grade. I just want to get it, from that. And so that's more from the point of view though. And when that fascinates me, that comment. And, when I say I've heard it maybe 5 times, if you count it on one hand, we have 1,200 kids here. But when you unpack that more, it's more to do with that they're being challenged. And it's not uncommon for students and teenagers to want to do something other than be challenged at times. And that is our job as educators, to challenge them. So, I take that with a grain of salt, that feedback, but for the most part, the feedback's been really good. But we've got 3 here, we can hear from them. Just so you know, I didn't pick these 3 students. So I put it's probably worth noting. I put an EOA out to the school, to the student body, asking if anybody was interested in joining the webinar to talk about their experience. And I did get a lot of requests. And all of them were really keen to jump on and would have been great candidates. These are the first 3 students that jumped in, and then I capped it at that point, answered quickly and answered really well with their responses. So there's been no preparation here. So the responses that you've heard the students' point of view by and large.
Yeah, no, I love it. Thank you so much. We are almost at time. I think that, Margo, you came off mute for a second. Was there something that you wanted to add?
No, I think I just forgot to put myself back on mute. So
okay, good.
But
awesome.
Thank you for checking.
No, that is a-okay. That is called webinar etiquette. Come a long way. That should also be a badge that you should hand out, Darren. I think that will be a very strong skill required in future. Girls, I just want to finish with, what badge are you most proud of being awarded as a part of this program? I want to finish on a high, and if you could share that one. And Darren, if you could wish to be badged with something cool that the students come up with, what would that be? So Zali, over to you.
I liked getting the creativity badge because I feel like creativity is something really important, especially in the current times of AI coming to a more significant role in people's lives. Being able to be creative yourself without having artificial intelligence do it for you is really important.
Whoa. Yep.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm really proud of some of my science badges that I have that are Mastery and Advanced, because I'm a very sciencey person and I enjoy, knowing that my hard work in science has paid off.
And being a very sciencey person, what does that mean you want to be when you grow up?
I want to do something in science. I specifically want to be an occupational therapist because I have 2 autistic siblings and I've grown up in those sort of areas. So, I have a lot of insight already, and I would find it very interesting to do some sort of study like that.
Fantastic. High five. The world needs more of you. And Sophia?
The one I'm most proud of is my music performance badge, because between being in junior concert band, choir and marching band and doing some solo performances, that badge represents many, many gigs I've done. It's up to a mastery level. It took me doing an application and then sending a message to the head teacher of music to go, hey, can you put this through really quick? I've got this thing showing off the learner dashboard, which wasn't this one, it was a previous one. Mm-hmm. So that one I'm most proud of because it represents so many gigs that I've done.
And what do you play?
I play piano and I sing.
Awesome. Fantastic.
just to add to that's an area we didn't really touch on. We do have curriculum, which is syllabus-based. There's 3 categories of badges. Then cross-curriculum, which we've talked about. We also have a category called co-curriculum, and those badges students apply for, they are they're our most prestigious, I would say, badges and very high-end. So to get to mastering in Year 9, it's unusual for even our Year 12s to get to mastering in advance. So for Sophia to get to mastering in Year 9 and that badge is, fantastic. Well done.
Congratulations. And Darren, finally, what badge do you wish that you could be awarded?
We already have it. I think critical thinking. I just don't think there's a more important skill in the world. I considered going a fun answer for that one, but I can't do it. I just cannot emphasize how important it is and how much better the world would be if everybody was able to exercise proper critical thinking.
Love that. Thank you so much. Thank you to our wonderful students, Zali, Sophia, and Clara. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I just want to call out that the recording will be sent out. So if there were people that were joining late, you can rewatch that recording. It has been really, really great to have you sharing this with us, Darren and Margo. Thank you so much for all of the work and the effort that you have put into this. I think that more teachers, more schools, more departments should aspire to adopt this technology and this way of thinking. I think that the future would be a very different place if we looked at a student more holistically, including all of the skills that we've talked about today, and even potentially include wellbeing in that a little bit down the track. But I am so proud to be a part of this. I love working with Edalex. Darren, thank you for having this brainchild. Margo, Darren, is there anything else from you?
I would just also like to thank the students. Thank you so much. I think the world is in good hands with you guys coming through. You're just amazing. So thank you so much. This has been a little bit of a labor of love, but certainly we at Edalex really believed that this needed to be shown, and that we needed to showcase this to the world. So, and there's just something to be said to co-design this with an educator like Darren. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Darren, any final words from you?
Just thank you to the students, and thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure working with Edalex and over the last 3 years developing it. Campus has been fantastic, a fantastic facilitator for all of the wacky ideas we have. And I guess final thought is just leaving people to ponder how powerful this could be if we looked at it as a prototype for a broader system. That everything is there from a technology point of view to roll this out, New South Wales wide, Australia wide, whatever it might be, and how much weight that would give to those soft skills, how much PL that would automatically develop across the state, across the country, in terms of having that consistent understanding of what it does look like to be a critical thinking master of critical thinking or creativity, and what we could do with that as a resource. I think that's something that's really exciting to me in terms of next steps, is looking at how we might be able to do that and what possibilities would come from that.
We'll absolutely help you champion that. And finally, thank you so much to everyone online who asked really, really great questions. There were a few that we couldn't get to, but there will be a follow-up. And then also just connect with us online through LinkedIn. There are questions. You will also be sent the webinar again, as well as please feel free to reach out. We love more questions. So thanks, everyone. Peace out. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this Edalex podcast episode. Don't forget to follow us on your podcast app so you don't miss a thing. And be sure to visit our website at edalex.com to learn more.